And our next speaker is actually going to hopefully give us an overview of what artificial intelligence means, but also what are the implications for us, so generally for us as the average person, and then he will then go into specifically how AI will play out in the fintech ecosystem. So our next speaker is the Director of Infrasoft Technologies. Please welcome to the stage Atul Pande.
Can you hear me? Are you okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is always a difficult time to present just after lunch or a little bit after lunch. So, I hope to grab your attention. I am really not going to talk about any statistics. I'm not going to talk about lots of words. I'll try to make it very straightforward and easy. And believe me, I'm not an expert on AI. I'm a little bit expert, but I know a few little things. So I'll try to share them with you. So, and I like to go around. So this is a goldfish, as you can see, of course. IBM conducted a study in 2016, December, around that time, to find out that this is a fish which has got the lowest attention span. Possibly you know this? In the whole world, as an animal, as a living being. 9 seconds. Guess what? This is a fact, yeah? Now the interesting bit here is, why technology? Why do we even have to build technology? Because you and I demand it. Think about it this way. Consumer expectations from the world has gone up so much. We really don't have, think about how many of you look at a phone and scroll through less than 2 seconds. We'll look at a phone, we'll look at a picture, even LinkedIn, or whatever you want to do. You know, if it's not interesting in 2 seconds, we scroll it down, isn't it? So if a person, a company, an organization, Tech UK, or any one of us who wants to pass on a message to you, we have, 7 seconds. That's an average. It's a tough world. It's a very tough world. Now, let's look at it this way. I have borrowed some of these data from Mr. Sarwan Singh of Frost & Sullivan. There are certain mega trends in the world today. So when I talk about mega trends, we're talking about not now or in the next 5 years, but till 2030. And see if that connects with you. Innovation zero. Have you heard of this term at all? Innovation zero. Anybody? It's a very interesting concept. Innovation zero means today the world is moving towards everything zero. Zero emission, zero carbon, zero impact to the environment, zero contracts. Absolutely, absolutely. So the world is changing. We are looking at something quite different, and we're looking at going towards that very soon. Value for money used to be sort of an acronym everywhere we used to go. If I want to buy something, I need to get value for money. But today we are looking for value for many. So what does this really mean? Think about this way. Zip cars, you get value cars which you can carpool and share. People will want to have premium stuff, whatever that could be, as long as they can share and not pay as much as they used to pay before. So that's what is called freemium. That's where the world is moving towards. Connectivity leading to convergence. Think about it today. There are about 80 billion smart devices in the world as of date. And they're all connected. If there are vehicles, there's a vehicle-to-vehicle connection. If there's a vehicle-to infrastructure connection. Cars talk to each other, devices talk to each other, and then the data converges to lead to a solution. So that's what the technology is moving towards. This is just a pictorial interesting thing that we are humans. We don't know what's going to happen in 2030. And of course, this is my line, but cognitive ability of machines. Now, obviously the first question comes with what is cognitive? So let's look at what is cognitive. Cognitive, by definition from an Oxford dictionary, it's a mental process of perception, memory, judgment, reasoning, etc. Human brain. And if you look at the same human qualities up there, planning, learning, reasoning, problem solving, knowledge representation, etc., etc. Why did I make that long list? Think about the machines today. They do all of that which is already listed up there, much more than what a human cognitive perception could do. Not all, most of it, except the creativity bit. So is that interesting? Possibly. Now here we go. How many of you, now this is an interesting question, how many of you have not heard of AI? I'm sure no, not a single hand is going to go up. Because from last couple of years, everything that we discuss, talk about, any company that talks to you about, will talk about AI. Whether really doing AI or not is a different matter. But artificial intelligence has to be talked about. In fact, this definition was defined in 1955 by, I don't have the notes here, but by a guy called Mark, which says an intelligence which is actually human intelligence, which has been shown up by a machine. That's what AI is supposed to mean. I'm going to give you a very quick, very, very high level sort of discussion of where AI leads to. So earlier days, when there was a program being written, you will have somebody writes the software. You have an input, some data coming into the software block. The program, which is the parameter that you set to make sure that the program works, and you have an output. It was a very simple technique that was being used in previous days. What has changed is this, that you have a model which learns, so that it's not just the program which is written inside, but it's also the output of that program which goes in back again, so that the system or that model keeps learning, keeps correcting itself, finds out where the errors are, and changes the output or refines the model that it runs on. So that's the basic principle of learning. All these terms that I mentioned here, machine learning, deep learning, or robotic automation. If I may, I want to explain in a very quick minute. So machine learning, as we all know, that bit where the machine learns itself by having an input to the data. Now, deep learning is a subset, or deep learning is a foundation of machine learning, where it's based on neural networks. Human brain is made of neurons, as you possibly know. This is very similar. But think about self-driving cars. You've all seen them all over the news for many, many times. Now, a self-driving car has got so many inputs that it is going through. Lots of cameras, where one camera is taking pictures of the curb, for example, others taking the other cars. One of them is taking pictures of the buildings and whatever, all the surroundings. Each one of them is considered like a neural node, and it is processing itself about how it is going to navigate because of that specific node. But that one node is not enough. So the neural network, basically one node passes information to the other, and it all combines together to give an output to make sure that the car is driving safely. So that's what the neural network, generally, very high level idea is. So all these things are connected basically to a subset of artificial intelligence, as we call it. There are a few types. Again, this is very high level, so please don't, I can always discuss it when we have time. But let's say there's a narrow AI. Narrow AI is basically subject matter of a focused AI. It is built for a specific purpose. Anybody who has heard of Siri, Alexa, for example? Only a few of you. That's very interesting. We've heard of Alexa? Alexa? Yeah, okay. Fantastic. Because it's very interesting. To tell you what, I'm extremely happy that Alexa came to my house, because till then I was thinking that I'm the only one who does not listen to my wife. Now I know there's one more person who doesn't listen to her, so which is very interesting. But thank you. So this is purely AI-based system which is learning all the time. And people also complain, actually, even when you switch it off, it's listening to you. And you have seen cases where you want to order something. You've been ordering a few things on Amazon, and it pops up ads to tell you what is similar. May not be the same, but what is similar. That's a bit like narrow AI, which talks about what are your likes and dislikes, and the system basically manipulates to drive you towards another sale. So that's the bit of narrow AI. Also, inappropriate content on the web. So this is the other side. What should not be on the web? For example, YouTube videos or Facebook is always trying to find out, which are the areas of content which they should not produce. So that's the trigger which goes on the opposite side as well. is the same thing. So because that content doesn't exist in the system, but it still is able to flag because it is an anomaly. So that's a bit of a narrow AI. General AI, and as far as my knowledge goes, and I may be wrong, it doesn't exist today in this totality, but think about which is encompassing the whole environment. So think about a traffic management system. There are traffic management systems, signaling systems and tram systems and everywhere, obviously individually operating. But have you seen a traffic management system for a city which takes care of all kinds of transportation in one unit and optimizes the traffic everywhere? And we would be such a better place, the world would be, but it's not today. But I don't think it exists right now. But that's one of the areas of a general AI would basically mean. And the lastly but not least, as I mentioned, neural networks. And again, I really don't want to bother you too much details, but the point would be that you focus on certain nodes of processes and combine them together to form an output result. As I explained, self-driving cars. So are we good so far? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that we are all being listened to. So what is, when we keep talking about AI, so what is AI? What is it made of? What is the base? Now, and I can proud to say that my son's colleague from Cambridge, he's a mathematician, and he said, I asked him what is his goal in life. So he said that he wants to become a teacher. Now that's very exciting because this generation, which is learning so much on the new technology, is able to transfer all that knowledge to the new generation. These are few of the algorithms, and I possibly want to mention a couple of them. So the base of every AI is an algorithm. Algorithms have always been there. It's not that it's something new. And I'll mention that in my subsequent slides. But some of them are very unique in a way. So decision tree, I'm sure most of you must have heard of decision tree. It's a very common algorithm being used for a long, long time, where it typically does a yes or no decision. Have you heard of this toy? There used to be a toy called 20 questions, where you think about anything in this world and keep saying yes and no, and it'll actually tell you what you're thinking of. Do you know anyone? Yeah, this was there in the market for, 10 years ago. So that's decision tree, and it's been there for a long time in a small format. And Bayesian classification is basically a probability, so you all know this anyway. Interesting bits are, let's say, independent component analysis. This is a very complicated algorithm. Why? Because it finds out underlying sources of how that algorithm is going to perform, and especially typically very useful for financial institutions. Okay, I won't bore you with too many details, but anyway, the base of AI is all algorithms, is all mathematics. So anybody who learns mathematics is fantastic. It's a good news for me. Just want to show you something. It's going to repeat in a few seconds, and I missed it. I know I missed the starting. Okay. So the girl just actually walks off. The reason being, obviously, the Ferrari is not his. So everything that you see may not be actually driven by an AI, is where I want to come to. There is a lot of perception in the market about how things work and why they are designed in a certain way. But then it has to be just to see whether it is really doing the job that you need to. I've got just a couple of slides to talk about how will cognitive technology help. And this is very high level. There are millions and millions of examples. And there are, as Simon mentioned, there are 400 companies in India itself. And I'm proud to be in one of the companies my company, which I consult for, headquartered in India. We are global, but we are headquartered in India. But we have certain simple applications. So where would typically AI or anything which is similar to AI help? One example would be typically processing large amount of data in a very short amount of time. So it could be anything like Babylon Health, which I'll talk about later, but billions of pieces of information which is being processed so quickly that it does faster than a human brain. So that is very important and error-free. Identity adversity. So in financial sector, in typical, which is where I basically hail from, there are areas we've been having lots of anomalies or adversities being detected by AI software. You must have heard this quite a few times, where if things are not right, the system is supposed to detect it. Now imagine a program which basically runs to say, if this, then do that, which is very simple and straightforward. But if this is also not true and that is also not true, how do you make sure that that could be true? So that's where this whole bit of, if customer assets move other than often usual, so I'm doing a transaction with A to B all the time, but suddenly I do a transaction from A to C, that's unusual. Unusual is a very subjective term, and AI is supposed to find that out. Something similar, without a trigger, unexpected, these are all human terminologies, but AI today is able to recognize those very clearly. And internal due diligence on portfolio manager is just a term, but any internal employee of an organization, government organization, public organization, bank, financial institution, anywhere, the system actually also checks their performances or fraud, for that matter, automatically through AI. They don't even know that's happening typically. It's already in place. This is not new. Most of the institutions have already, large ones have deployed this. Learning, we don't have to take the same decision twice. It's very critical. This is robotics. As you know, if you're going to do the same task again and again, you don't want to do it on your own. Somebody else should do it for you. That's learning. Analytics, I'm going to go a bit quickly, simulate exactly what you need, and diligence. Have you heard this term called weaponized AI? Anybody? Fantastic. Thank you. I'm very, very happy. I've got a few names who have heard of this. So this is typically, today I was watching BBC News in the morning, Sir Tim Lee talked about, who's the inventor of internet. He said that the only thing, or the worst thing that he fears today is that the internet is being used for hate more than the good things. And that's one of these worries. And he, in fact, didn't have an answer to say whether it's going to go away. So it's risky, clearly. Weaponized AI is another threat, which is basically fraud being conducted through AI. So that's another area which people have to be worried about. But that's where we are. So all the considerations to be looked at. Again, very quickly, even old days, since 1970s, when banks used to do credit scoring mechanisms, they were using algorithms. It was not new. They used various models, possibly some simpler ones, simple correlation models, and Excel and some human touch, etc. All the new incumbents, for example, all those digital institutions, the so-called ones, they try to implement complex algorithms so that things are automated. Now, here is a question, a very quick one. Am I doing okay for the time? I am always running time. Simon took some of my time, so where is he? Okay, I'm going to be very quick here. So, the reason being, where would AI really fit? I get asked this question all the time. So, for example, if you are able to onboard a customer by identifying him through whole social media and adverse words that he may have or not, she may have not used, you know how this works. I can actually go through your Facebook, your Twitter, all your social media data feeds. It's happening today, by the way, gentlemen, ladies, if you don't know. And then banks can actually find out if you've been using words like bomb or whatever and reject your applications. This is already happening. The question is, if you don't find such words, would you accept him and onboard him and give him credit? That's still not happening. So there is a limitation on how you can apply AI, how far you can take it. Okay, because I don't have time, I'm going to be very quick here. This is anti-fraud system. There are rules that you apply, and some of these which will go beyond rules. You use your credit card in India and UK at the same time, obviously the bank flags an error. But if you use from work to home every day and suddenly use somewhere else, it is going to flag an error, which is not illegal, but it's still flagging an error. That's where the AI works. Okay. This slide, I'm hoping to spend a minute. I was asked this question about, is AI going to take my job? So again, courtesy Frost and Sullivan. The interesting bit here is if you can see, this is education level there and risk of automation, obviously losing job. Can you see some very highly educated people out this in the top quadrant there? And can you imagine why those jobs at risk? Because of repetition. If you have data, if you have information which is stored in one place and if you just have to repeat it, anything that goes in that direction will definitely have a risk of being not so important anymore. Typically also because think about a case where a lawyer, very intelligent people, highly educated, but they normally try to fight a case against for somebody by finding out similar cases, reasoning that must have happened before. It's the easiest way to find out, to go to a conclusion. Even that is going to go away through AI because AI will be able to find out similar cases, even if they're not same, because every case is unique. And it's very critical. So yeah, this is where we are. I've got 3 slides, so I'm going to go. This is human evolution in one format. Some people may think it's in this format today. Possibly yes. This is where we are going. Again, another question I've been asked is where is AI leading us? I mean, how long till the time we become robots? It took us about, I don't know, various figures, 6 to 60 million years to have our brain develop to a capacity which we have today. Let's not wait. It's going to happen next year. It's going to take a long while. Okay. Have you seen, anyone of you seen this video? Yeah, it's going on LinkedIn and wherever. Boston Dynamics. And I have a disclaimer there which says whatever I'm going to say is not published and it is only assumption. But the point here is that everything that you see which looks like AI may not be. This must be, I've studied some of the bits of similar robots which are very highly technologically advanced, responsive machines. So they calculate very fast movements of their servo motors and correct themselves. Anyway, this is just for, again, there's no finish line. The technology is going to grow. You can't say, I've done this and I'm done. In last 1 year, the technology has moved in a span of about over 100 years plus. So that's what has happened. I'm going to skip some of that. This is my company. Please excuse me, I need to talk about this. Infrasoft Tech, we've done this globally in about 40 odd countries. We have over 100 different customers who use us for digital technology. Not everything AI, so I'm going to correct myself here. Everything doesn't have to be AI, but you heard about this thing called bots. I heard in the morning the ladies were talking really about workforce and why women empowerment, etc. It's all great, but the definition of workforce actually is changing. People who build bots, people like us, we call them workforce nowadays. So there is no gender discrimination at all because it's a software workforce, and it's a scary thing, but it's a fact. That's where we are going. So that's where we are. We are highly digital. 80% of our team is based out of India, the research and development team, about 1,200 of us. And we've been doing well for quite a few, about 470 odd financial institutions in the market. That's my final slide. Everything is about customers. Customers drive us, as we know, or end customers, consumers. So if you don't take care of them, somebody else will. All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate your time. Cheers. Thank you.